Hey everybody, Danny Mod here. Welcome to another episode. This week we're going to discuss how to get an in-to-out swing on the way through the shot. Now if you've clicked on the video, the chances are maybe you're an out to win swinger and you want to know how to stop that and get swinging the club into out. Maybe you slice the golf ball and you would love to understand, well, you've heard that obviously hitting a draw or reducing that slice, you need to get the club more into out, and you tried a few things and they're not really working, and you want to know how to get this working more effectively. Well, in this week's training, we're going to cover exactly that. We're going to cover three things, what I would class as the three most important things to start this process and get you swinging far more into out. So let's get started with something really simple. The number one thing I find when I take people on a golf course is alignment. They get it wrong so many times, like 9 out of 10 of my students, they get it wrong. They tend to aim way too far to the right of target here. Now think about it. If you are someone who swings across the line, you're probably doing it because of poor alignment, right? Now if you don't fix alignment first, you'll never swing into out, because if we're aiming to the right and we swing into out, we're going to hit the ball there, right? So we definitely don't want to be doing that. Step number one, double check your alignment. Nobody can start working the club into out if they're already aiming to the right hand side, right? You're going to always have to make those compensations and swing across the line to get it anywhere near the fairway. So quick recap, because I'm sure you guys understand this, but quick recap on alignment. You have a ball to target line here, right, which is where you're aiming, and then you have a body line, right? The body line is parallel left of target. Our body line is never aimed at the target. Too often I see people's body line aimed at the target eye here, and what they're doing is they're simply pushing the target line out over to the right. We need to be parallel left with the body line. Basic, yes, but you would not believe how many people, when I take them out of the golf course, they're trying to stop coming over the top and maybe trying to hit this draw and they just can't do it, right? So to get an into-out swing, double check, first of all, that your alignment's in shape. Second thing, and here comes the tennis racket. So I've just started to learn to play tennis, which has been really good fun. But there's some real crossovers and that we can learn from other sports. Now, for those people who are trying to get an into-out swing, the chances are that you're probably cutting the golf ball. You're coming out to in and you're cutting the golf ball. So the very first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to change the spin that you put on the ball, right? So the problem is to ask somebody who slices the ball to swing into out, that for most people is just way too scary, right? All that's going to happen is, you know, if you know that your troubles are over on the right hand side, the last thing you're going to want to do is get the club swinging here. Even if you really want to, subconsciously you're going to be like, no, that's the trouble over there, right? So what tends to happen is people kind of still swing over the top and they cannot get rid of it, right? So what really works, if we can change your spin so that we can put a right to left spin on it first, even if the ball sets off left of target and goes left, it will give you the best opportunity, first of all, to get, or you'll give you more encouragement to start swinging into out. So when I was learning to play tennis, we obviously need to put a lot of change the spin on the ball, right? When I first started, I was trying to put top spin on like this, rolling my hands over, right? And all that was happening was the ball was not going over there. It was just literally, I was putting top spin on, but it was going into the net. What I was then taught to do is they said, look, if you want to get top spin on the ball and get it over the net, you need to brush up the back of the ball, right? Brush up the back of the ball. I thought, that's really, really interesting. That's not dissimilar to hitting a driver, right? Because what most people are doing when they're coming out to win is they're coming down on the golf ball, and if anything they're putting lots of backspin and slight cut spin on the ball, right? So I thought, well, I wonder if this type of feeling would really help, and it definitely does, right? So what you want to do, if you want to start to learn to kind of get an into-out swing path, what you can start to do initially is take the club and start to just relax and start to get the head working up and start to get the sensation that it's actually rolling. So you're working it up on the ball and the club head itself is almost rolling. It's closing down. Just get that sensation up here, roll it over, right? Not dissimilar, completely the opposite to somebody who is simply slicing across the golf ball. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So from here, we're making a swing. Don't go for any big shots to start off with. And what I want you to do is get yourself set and just practice swinging up and get the sensation of rolling the club as it's going upwards. Let's have a look at this. Nice and simple. Big hook there, right? Really big hook, which is great to start off with, right? Because for most of you, if you can't get the ball spinning from right to left, you'll never have the encouragement to swing into out. But imagine this, if we start seeing the ball moving away from your treble on this side, it will give you far more confidence to start to swing in to out. So let's start with that first, and then we'll work on number 3. So you've looked at your alignment. We've now starting to get a sense that we're going to be brushing up the back of the golf ball, just like a tennis shot, and getting a sense that the club face starting to close down. But still, if this isn't quite working, then it could be down to the third factor, which would hopefully kind of knit all this together. If people are struggling naturally to let the club face close through impact and get this into out swing, the chances are it's because they suffer from a lack of disassociation between the club head and the body. What do I mean by this? A lot of people who are swinging out to in and cutting across the golf ball, they're desperately trying to close that face and stop that slice. But what they're doing is, they're doing it with their body, right? So look at this, their body's actually closing down, but they haven't been able to do, the body's not the thing that hits the golf ball, right? The club head is. So what happens is, as the body tries to close down, it swings across the line of the golf ball and increases the likelihood that you're just going to cut across and slice it. What we've got to do is disassociate from body and club head. So watch the difference here. Here, the club head's swinging. Here, there's no disassociation and the body's just moving, right? We want to stop the shoulder working and allow the club head itself to start to work up on the ball and let it close, right? So you notice I'm doing it with one hand. This is the easiest way to feel disassociation because I'm allowing the club head to swing. Once you've got that motion, then what you do, again, nice and small, just get a practice with this and just start to practice this disassociation here. You're brushing up the back of the golf ball here. We're not after wonderful pure shots at this stage. We're trying to just simply alter the spin. Look at that movement. Beautiful movement on the golf ball. All because what I'm doing is simply just swinging the club head and brushing up the back of the golf ball here, and I've got this really good disassociation. Look at the differences I did this. If I try to close the club face like this with my body, no disassociation, is always going to get the club swinging left to target. And those are the 3 things that I'd like you to consider. So let's summarize for a second. You want probably to start swinging into out. Likelihood is that's because you're swinging out to in with an open face and possibly slicing the golf ball. If you want to learn to do this effectively, please double check your alignment before we do anything else. You will not believe how many people get this wrong. Please check that first, right? Once you check your alignment and you're happy that that's all absolutely spot on, then the next thing to consider is a tennis analogy, right? What we want to do with driver is we want to be brushing up the back of the ball. I want you to get a sense of this, just literally the club working and brushing up the back of the golf ball. What do most people swing out to in do? They come from this position. They're coming actually down and across the ball, producing lots of backspin and side spin, right? We want to be coming up the back of the golf ball here with a rolling wrist. Get a sense of that, right? We start small with it first of all. We're not interested in ultimately beautiful strikes. We are trying to alter the spin on the golf ball. If you don't alter the spin first, it is so difficult to encourage or have the confidence to swing into out. You imagine, I'm stood on the 18th here at Canterbury. There's out of bounds down the right hand side and you've been slicing it. Do you think realistically you're going to have the real confidence to swing to the right when you've been slicing it? Maybe, but it's highly unlikely, right? So if we can change your spin, if you know that the ball's going to curve away from here, then you'll have more confidence to swing there, right? So step 1, alignment. Step 2, we need to change the spin, and we're going to start to do that with a brushing up. Step 3, which kind of is interlinked with step 2, is we've got to learn to disassociate the club head and the body. A lot of people who struggle with this motion, or the club face closing down, is simply because they're trying to close it down with their shoulders and not letting the club head do the work instead, right? So here I am, the club head swinging, right? backwards and forwards. I'm not trying to close it down with my body. It looks, when you watch it on camera, pretty obvious, but you'd be amazed at, again, how tricky this is sometimes to feel. So that's why I suggest doing it one hand to start off with, right? So let's have another look at that. So we've got ourselves aligned correctly. We're going to try to brush up the back of the golf ball here to try and create that draw, and we're going to make sure we're disassociating here. The right shoulder's not doing the work, the club is. All right, let's have a quick look at this. Nice and small, and there you go, a nice loopy shape on the shot here, completely opposite to what you're probably finding if you're coming out to in. All right, so I hope you really enjoyed this training. I hope you did, and if you did, please share it with your friends if you find any of your friends are struggling with this in-to-out swing path. And of course, if you're enjoying the content and you'd like to receive it in your inbox every week, don't forget to press the subscribe button and the bell. If you have any questions at all on this subject, don't hesitate to put them in the comments box below, or head over to my Instagram channel and ask them over there. But until next week, have a great golfing week.